What's up, everybody? Welcome to the horrorheadspodcast. I am Rich Mallery here with my co-host Jerry Lourenco.
How are you, Rich?
Doing all right today. It's a rainy day here in LA, so it's a perfect day to sit back, drink a little bourbon, and talk horror movies. I'm super stoked to be indoors right now. You can follow us on Instagram at horrorheadspodcast or send us your love and hate to horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. That's where you could find us. So today, I'm super excited about this episode because we're going to be talking about some films I love. We're going to be talking about the Terrifier Trilogy. The new one just came out on digital today, I believe. So super stoked about that. And I know we have probably very different opinions on those films, so it should be a nice, healthy debate. I kind of know how you feel about most of them. I don't know how you feel about the newest one yet, so that'll be interesting. And I have a different perspective too, rewatching them. And I've seen them all a bunch of times, but rewatching the first and the second one, I kind of definitely have a different take on it. But one thing I before we talk about Terrifier, another new movie just came out recently that we both watched and we're kind of texting about that I wanted to talk about is the new Smile 2.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so as you all know from the last episode, I did not like the original. I felt pretty strongly about it that I didn't like it, and wasn't super stoked to watch the new one, but I needed something to watch and figured fuck it, it'd be something to talk about in the show. And I remember I'm watching it and I'm texting you while I'm watching it, and like that first hour, I was pretty into it. Like I thought that
Yeah.
opening scene is
You're
great.
hyped.
I was hyped. I was like, holy shit, this is actually pretty good. And I had to like take a pause because I was about to go out and do something, and I noticed I was like, oh, there's like an hour and 10 minutes left in this movie. I don't really know how I feel about that, but you know what? Fuck it. It's starting off pretty good. I'm super excited. Man, when I came back to watch that second hour, completely different movie. It falls off the rails for me, man. Like, and it's funny because we're talking about it, and like I don't think you felt as strongly about the first half of it as I did, but yeah, I was super into it. It was scary. Like I thought it was like effective. And then I don't know, it just takes a turn where it got super repetitive for me. The scenes all dragged on way too long. Like I don't know why they were like the pacing just completely slowed. And then not to spoil it, but like I completely did not understand the ending at all. I don't really know what the hell was happening. So yeah, I think it was a huge miss. Maybe if it was 90 minutes would have been better, but there's no reason Smile 2 needs to be 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I mean, honestly, reflecting back on it, I probably like the first one better. It felt more like a horror film than this one did. Yeah, I did like the first hour. I was getting into like the mood of it, but then maybe not even the first hour, maybe like the first half hour. And then you know what? It kind of felt like that movie Trap that we watched a couple of months ago and did an episode about. It just kind of like it goes so far and leans so far in like almost like the drama direction. You kind of forget that you're watching a horror film at times. And I don't know if they were trying to do that to make like the jump scares be like more effective, but it actually kind of like I was so in the of not being in like the horror mode that when the jump scares happen, it took me like longer to actually register it, and it probably didn't work as well on me as say like the first one, which was a ton of jump scares. And I thought if all the faults in that film, at least the jump scares are pretty good. I can't say the same about this film. And what I do really want to say about this film is I absolutely hated the protagonist of this film. Like, I just did not care about this character at all.
Yeah, she was really unlikable, and they kind of paint her as a bit of an asshole, right? And like I like the idea of this curse happening to a pop star because she's got fans all over the place and she's got all of this pressure that she's got to perform. And I liked her backstory that she's dealing with this trauma from, a death that, we see like what happened there, and how she feels guilt about that. So I liked like the idea of this character, but you're right, like she's really unlikable,
Yeah.
like just a fucking jerk. So yeah, you're not really kind of like you're not invested, like you don't feel bad for her at all
No.
as she's going through all this. And like you said, it does kind of veer off in a drama, and it almost felt like I'm watching, like it made me think of the HBO series the Idol,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just at
exactly.
times, which like I actually kind of liked that series up until the end, but like that's not a horror. You know what I mean? Like that's I felt like he saw that and was like, oh, what if I made that into Smile? And but then like forgot he was making a horror movie and said like I'm making this other movie. Yeah, it was confusing. And like again, that happens like around maybe the 45-minute mark where it just kind of like shifts, and now you're dealing with the drama of this person who's like dealing with addiction and other things, which again could be fine, but it was a bit of a mess the way they did it here. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'm all into like the music business and watching like, like celebrities go through shit and things like that. I find that actually really interesting. And if there was a movie and it wasn't a horror movie, it was just about that, I probably would have really liked it a lot more. But they had like so many of these like supernatural elements that they were trying to include in, and they were really trying to, I don't know if they were trying to deepen, I guess, the lore of this Smile, but it just I don't even know if this film was necessary. I don't know like what it
I
did.
agree.
I don't know if like a part three would help this. And it's getting a lot of hype, and that's really why I watched it. I know you said you were watching it, so I took that into consideration, and I also took into consideration that it's getting a lot of hype right now, and everyone's like, "Oh, this one's like so much better," and it's like, "Oh, it's so much better." All right, I have to check it then if it's so much better. I don't think it was actually. I pretty firm. I like the first one better.
Yeah, I think the only thing better about it was it looked more expensive.
Oh,
That was really
definitely.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
The
think the
production
budget was
value.
double.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked really good and like, it was stylistic, but it wasn't like scary or interesting. Again, once you like got through the first few scenes where they set everything up, it kind of just again just drags on. And I go back to that ending where I was so confused. And it's funny, like I've asked other people about the ending too. I'm like, did I just miss something? And they're all like, yeah, I don't know what the hell like what the point of that was.
Easily forgettable. Never watch again. And, I feel bad because if they took out all these Smile elements and just made
Yeah.
that movie, I'd be like, oh, that was a pretty good movie because it did remind me of a lot of like other things that I do like. So too bad. That was a
Yeah,
miss.
same. They mix and match like the wrong two
Too
movies, right? They
much.
should have just
Yeah.
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 All right, so that was Smile too. And yeah, I think like if I had to pick one to watch over the other, I probably would watch the first one. And maybe the reason is because it's 10 minutes shorter. That might be the main reason. But like I think it was a little more effective. All right, so that's our take on Smile. Let's get to the drinking because it's the day before Thanksgiving, and I need a sippy sip. So what I have here tonight is something called Kentucky Silk, Kentucky Straight Bourbon, 92 proof. It
Ooh.
has a horse on the bottle. And usually when there's a horse on the bottle, it's a good sign. So we'll see what this is all about.
I like that bottle. That's really nice.
It's heavy as fuck
It
too. Like
it
this is like a
looks
weapon.
it looks like a decanter almost. It's really
I was just gonna
nice.
say
I mean,
it
it's
feels like a decanter. I
look
might
how
actually
heavy that
save it.
is. Damn, that
Yeah,
is
it's
gorgeous.
thick. I might actually like peel off the label and save the bottle and use it as a decanter now that I'm
Mm.
thinking about it. So I just poured a huge pour right here.
Oh
What do you got
yeah.
today?
So today I got something in the bourbon world that gets a lot of buzz. It's New Riff Kentucky Straight Bourbon. This is a bourbon a lot of people like, a lot of people talk about it. I'm trying to get through this bottle. I haven't had it in a long time. It was actually in the back of my cabinet, and I was cleaning it out today to make some room for some holiday liquor. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to revisit this, see what I think, because I didn't love it. And if it sucks, I have backup over here. So
You show me that bottle again. It looks like a wine bottle almost,
it
right?
does.
I've
Yeah,
never seen a
yeah.
bourbon bottle that's like dark like
Yeah,
that.
yep. It's like painted black on top, and then it kind of like fades down to like clear. It's actually pretty cool. It's like ombre, I guess.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. So like the last episode we were talking about Bullet and I was saying
Hmm.
how, I used to love Bullet back in the day, but I haven't had it in a couple of years. And like for whatever reason, I just remembered something about it. I stopped liking it. I went to this party like a week or so ago and I was at the bar and I saw it and I'm like, let me order a double Bullet, and I'm back on the Bullet now. I thought it was delicious. I was like, holy shit, why did I think I disliked this? And I don't think I disliked it. I think what happened was I just found other things I liked and just stopped getting
Yeah,
it. And
sure.
then something happened. But yeah, I was into it. And after two double bullets, I was
You were
feeling
feeling right.
good. I was feeling good.
Well,
So I'm back on it.
That's my
Oh shit,
backup
that's
just
your
in case.
backup.
That's my backup just in case. I got the 10-year just in case. But
I'm gonna get it for the next episode probably. I'm probably gonna get some bullet just because like I haven't bought it in forever, like at home. So yeah, super stoked about that. But let's cheers to
amazing.
this.
Yeah, let's cheers. Cheers to
Cheers.
the episode 22. Oh God.
That didn't sound like it went well.
Oh man, it's gonna be a long night. Let me take another. Oh
So,
shit. This is do
are
you
you
want to
going to
go
the backup
first?
already?
No, go ahead.
No,
You
no,
go
no.
first.
All right. So this, again, I don't think this is anything special. It's decent. It kind of, I'm trying to think of the flavors I'm getting. I get a little bit of that sweetness. I actually got a little bit of fruit. I don't know if that's just me imagining it or not, but it also has like a bit, it also has that dry, like how
Oh
you
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
describe it a
Yep.
bit. So it's like a combination of like, at first I'm like, ooh, this is hard, but the aftertaste is okay. So I think I just got to stick with it. So,
Yeah, I should look that up. Like, what's that officially called? I don't know if dry is the right way of speaking about it, but
and
yeah, I should.
I always say grainy, which isn't right either. I just don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it. But yeah, like it has that like almost like you're drinking like straight like moonshine alcohol, and then you get into the flavors. So okay, so what do you got there?
Yeah, so I mean this is 100 proof. It definitely has a burn right off the bat, and it's actually still burning my tongue right now. So it lasts a while. It has that spicy, mossy taste that I
Oh.
don't that I don't prefer, and it's really like it's up front. As soon as it hits your tongue, it's like all like spice. There's like boom, like right in your like your palate. It's and by spicy I mean like something spicy, like peppery or something almost like hot or something like that. I can't really put my finger on it. We're not experts here, as if I don't know if anyone has been listening for 22 episodes. We are not expert bourbon tasters. We have been to a few bourbon tastings. Maybe we should go to a few more to up our education. But yeah, this is pretty horrible. Yeah, I mean, I don't get what the buzz is. I looked for this for a long time. I couldn't find it anywhere on Long Island, and it's gross, and I'll never buy it again.
Okay. All right. That's it. Yeah, I'll be the first to admit I do not have a sophisticated palate. I probably could taste four different types of things, and
Yeah,
that's
like
really
maybe like
it.
three or four.
Yeah.
And maybe those are the only ones I'm looking for because maybe I just know what I like. I don't know. But yeah, maybe we'll get for next season we'll get some better bourbon tasters on here to maybe teach us a few things and we can learn.
That's actually a good idea. We could do like a little segment on that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, yeah. We'll just find someone who's into horror and bourbon and ask them to kind of help us develop our palates a little bit, do a little bourbon tasting and talk about some horror. Yeah, let's pencil that in.
All right, I will mark it on my calendar that I don't have. All right, so like let's get into it then. Let's talk about
Uh,
Terrifier 1.
Terrifier.
We're gonna talk about 1, 2, and 3. And again, as I say, I personally do love these movies. I understand they are not for everybody. They are not for the casual horror fan. They are not for probably half of the horror fans out there because they are pretty extreme, pretty graphic, over the top, almost comic booky in a way. But I love them and I respect what filmmaker Damien Leone is doing. He like created a brand new horror icon, which is up there in popularity, I would say, with the big ones, right? Like I go
Oh
to
yeah.
Spirit Halloween and I see Terrifier everywhere. You go to Spencer's, Hot Topic, Terrifier everywhere. So he's definitely doing something right. And I didn't realize when I was just kind of looking into this how far back the character of Art the Clown goes. And I was looking, and the first appearance of him in a film is in a 2008 short film, The Ninth Circle, which 2008 is what, like 17 years ago, right?
Yeah.
If I do math correct. And then Damien Leone did a short film, Terrifier, in 2011, again, 14 years ago. And then he ended up doing this anthology, All Hallows Eve, in 2013, where basically what he did was he took those two shorts. I think he might have added some footage and then added another short in and a wraparound and kind of got them back out there. And then he made the feature film Terrifier in 2016. So he's been like at this a long time. And one thing I just didn't know because I didn't really pay that much attention to the shorts, and I've only seen like that anthology once a long time ago. Originally, it was a different actor that played Art the Clown in the shorts. And when Damien was going to make the feature film, what I read was that he just didn't want to deal with all of the makeup and just didn't really want to get involved. Big mistake for him
How
because
is he
now,
feeling right
right?
now?
Like now, David
Uh,
Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, is a huge star in the horror world. I mean, I don't know if he's making money or not. I hope he is, but like he can go to any convention in the world and will be swamped, and no one will ever know who the other guy's name is. Big mistake. He should have done it. But also, I'll say too, like I mean, I rewatched the shorts the other day, and you could definitely see the difference in performance. I mean, a few things happened. One is the makeup got creepier for the feature
yeah,
films.
looks different.
It looks different. It looks scarier, but also the actor. I mean, David Howard Thornton is really good at portraying Art the Clown, and it's interesting because he never speaks. He is basically a mime clown, but is able to express all of these different emotions and things. And it looks like he's having a lot of fun with it. So I'm glad that the original actor Mike Gianelli decided to pass. I think we have a much better movie.
That is probably the biggest difference between them is I feel like some like more humor is able to kind of come out from the newer Art the Clown than the previous one. And I can't confirm this, but I feel like he might be like just like taller and probably more menacing than the original.
Like lankier too.
Yeah,
His
like
like arms just
lankier.
seem
So
longer.
it just looks like it just looks more awkward and stranger, where I feel like the other guy was just a little more like stockier. He was a big guy, but it just felt like more stockier. I feel like if you want to add like that creepiness, like just a lankier kind of tall guy, and I think he does a good job at it. So he was probably the better choice. So it's probably a lot to do with the success was probably switching, the clown.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that too. And we're going to take these films one by one, and I think they're all very similar but very different too at the same time. And you could definitely see the progression of Damien as a filmmaker and kind of what he was trying to do. I think what he did this film again was pretty much like self-funded, like no one really heard about it, and then it kind of blew up. And I think what I know, like I forget who told me about it, but like I remember watching it for the first time and just being like, holy shit, at like the level of just violence and gore and blood and makeup. And that there's that one scene which is like the iconic, which might be, in my opinion, one of the most
I
graphic
know you're
kills
talking
I've
about.
ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, I know you're talking
Which like
about.
when I saw that, I literally had to rewind, like, holy shit, I can't believe they did that. And the kill is, for those of you who have not seen this film, is he um ties up basically who we think is going to be the final girl is tied up, and she has to watch her friend who is hung upside down with her legs spread, fully naked, and Art the Clown takes a hacksaw and saws right through her, starting with her vagina. And it is the most insane thing I think I've ever seen in a horror movie, like kill. We see some crazy
Yeah,
shit, but I was
yeah.
like, how do you think of that? That was just,
It's
and it's just,
slow.
it's slow, and he's just like going through it.
That makes it so much more brutal. Is that this is something that in every other film on Earth would probably be about a 20-second scene. I think this guy's hacking away for like a minute, and you're like, oh my God, enough. And he's just going, like, ugh, like,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just, and as he gets deeper, it's getting more brutal and gory and disgusting. And I mean, yeah, I could appreciate that. It's definitely probably a top one or two goriest kill ever filmed. I mean, it was iconic. I mean, that's probably what put him on the map right there. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that they do just with these movies in general, and again, you either like it or you don't, is all of the kills basically are like long. Like he doesn't just stab somebody, like he will stab you 40 times, then he'll like cut off a body part, then
Yeah.
he'll like do this. It's like insane. And then and what they do with these movies, which again is ridiculous, it's not realistic, but like it makes it more intense, is that the people are basically still alive this whole time while they're getting just destroyed. And it's like it just makes you feel it. And even though it is like not believable, like just seeing like again the eyes still moving while the basically half their face is hacked off or like they're missing lips, it's fucking like
It's effective. Yeah, it's
it's
definitely
effective.
effective. Yeah.
Which it could easily not be. It could easily be just like, okay, this looks silly, like this is whatever, But yeah, he keeps you in there, and like you just want to stop sometimes. It's hard to watch, right?
I mean, they definitely take brutality to a different level with these films, and I definitely think this first one, the initial Terrifier, I mean, he was really kind of flaunting his skills, as a practical effects artist. Is he a good filmmaker? I would say yes. Is he a great special effects person? Yes, I would say he's world class. Is his writing awesome? No. So,
Yeah.
I do find some faults in his films, and it's probably just you can't be good at every single thing, he's masterful at some things and some areas where it just comes to like say like dialogue. It's just like I cringe sometimes, and sometimes it's nonsensical, sometimes it's awkward, sometimes it's weird. And I guess if you just don't even take it, you just kind of take it for like a slasher film. I mean, how good is the dialogue in Friday 13th Part 4? It's
Well,
like
wait a minute. That does have some great lines.
but
That's an exception. Friday Part 4 has pretty good dialogue, but
But
yeah, I know what you're saying.
is every single actor like delivering
No,
like
no, no.
a Broadway worthy performance with a perfect dialect and perfect English and grammar? No, it's messy, but he has his strengths, and you could kind of see like where he flaunts them, and that's really with the special effects. So I don't know if we should give people who hasn't seen this, give them a quick kind of plot overview or
Yeah, I'd give the plot of the first one. It basically starts off with Tara and Victoria, who are two, I'm assuming they're teenage age or older. They're like maybe early 20s, late teens or whatever. And they're coming home drunk from a Halloween party, and they're not able to drive, so they stop and get a slice of pizza where they run into Art the Clown, who is again a really creepy mime clown holding a giant garbage bag full of weapons, and he kind of takes a liking to those two. At first, they kind of like fuck with him a little bit, and then kind of basically stalks them amongst other people and slices up a lot of people in brutal ways. What we find out later is Art is supernatural, so he is unable to be killed, which is like I guess kind of the twist at the end, but they do set that up in the shorts too. So like, if you follow them, you kind of already know it. I had forgotten those, so
I forgot.
I was a little shocked too when I saw that, but it's not a it's not a huge spoiler. But yeah, and basically he just kind of has a lot of fun being really sadistic, and I would say he might be the most sadistic slasher that I've seen. And why I think sadistic, not just the brutality of the kills, but just certain things he does, where like again he makes other people watch what's happening, and really kind of he makes people witness this the violence and the torture of like their loved ones, basically, which is really fucked up and makes some of these kills even more brutal. One note I didn't know is that the pizza place that they go to was in Deer Park, Long Island.
Yeah, hell
Didn't
yeah.
know it. Andy's Deer Pizza, which is not there anymore, but that is actually cool. And whenever there's pizza in a movie, I get excited because it always looks really fucking good. It always makes me
uh
want a slice.
Yeah, it looks delicious, except the way Tara's eating it. She's definitely not from Long Island. You could see that she may have been on Long Island, and I don't know where he gets his cast from. I mean, I know he's New York based, but I mean, just the way she was touching the pizza, I'm like, she never ate a pizza before in her life. So that that kind of triggered some of my like OCD. But other than that, yes, that pizza looked awesome, and I'm definitely it's not far from me. I keep meaning just to kind of drive past like that area just to kind of see like the filming set and to just get a sense of how they filmed it and stuff like that, just to see it in real life. I will do that one day. That is me and my plan for over the holidays, something to
Yeah,
do.
I wonder what's there now. And I think a lot of the rest of the film was filmed in Jersey, if I remember correctly. But getting back to kind of what you said earlier, like so for me, the dialogue doesn't bother me because again, it's a slasher movie, right? And I don't think it's like you said any better or worse than any other slasher movie. It's just you're basically just waiting for things to happen. I do think the main actors he uses are usually pretty good. I think the side actors not so much, right? Like the guys working in the pizza place, not so good. Like his male actors are usually not good, but I do feel that his leads, at least the females, are usually pretty on it. I think if I need to like nitpick these films, and we'll get to it a lot more when we get to the second one, is he just tries to do too much. And he like packs a lot of different stuff in, which kind of like the first Terrifier is like just under 90 minutes. So for me, it's pretty decently paced, although there is like a lot of stuff going on. But I think he just tries to like kind of add a lot of different just different nuances and things that kind of, might slow the movie down for some people. That's just kind of my take on like, is he like the greatest horror filmmaker? No. Can he do certain things really well? Yes. I think if he were like, for him to be better would be more editing on his like scripts and just cutting things down or just leaving things out. I think it's difficult to leave things out. And one thing it's funny, I learned that when he was making the third one, the distributor that put it out was basically like, okay, like you could do whatever you want, make the movie you want to make, but it's got to be under 2 hours. It's just
Oh,
that's our rule.
yeah.
And he still couldn't do it. It was like 2 hours and 5 minutes. So like, which again, like these, as much as I love parts 2 and 3, like they don't need to be over. No horror movie needs to be 2 hours. Like it just doesn't. I don't care how good it is. Like it just doesn't need it.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a lot of fluff in this particular film. I mean, there's that one strange woman that has like the doll as her child, and I mean, she had an unusual amount of airtime for someone who was completely irrelevant to the plot or and really any part of this film, and he interacts with her, and it's really all about like this doll that she thinks is a baby, and like I'm just like is Art think that she's like fucked up? Is he like wow, what the hell is wrong with this woman? But I mean, I felt like she had like way too much like airtime, and I really think that weird scene where he's like naked and he's just kind of like walking around and he's kind of dancing a little bit in that skin suit thing. It just goes on so long, and there becomes a point where things move from very quickly from shocking to annoying to boring. And it happens really, really quick. And I don't know if I have a little less tolerance just because of like all the films that I watch, especially most of them are like horror films, and my expectation on how the pacing should go. When things just kind of like start dragging, like it actually becomes like annoying to me. And this had a few moments in this film, and really all it does is it makes me kind of log off to everything that is going on and just looking forward to the scenes that Art is in. Like I'm just like, all right, where's Art? I want to see what he's going to do next. And to me, those are the most exciting moments of this film, and everything else almost feels like Ishtar. I mean, is there character development? No.
Right. Yeah,
Do
no,
do
there's
we
not.
do we care about too many of these characters? Not really. So it's like you're really just kind of looking forward to Art and seeing what he's going to do next.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. And I think that's what I mean by like the movie, him doing too much, the filmmaker. And like taking your example, like we're watching the movie because we want to see Art stalk Tara, and then eventually like her sister. And then maybe there's some side characters that get killed along the way because you need like a higher body
You
count.
need them, yeah.
But you're right. Like it's like once you're invested in like Art kind of stalking, Tara or like I can't think of the sister's name, even though she's an important character later on. Like that's what you're kind of paying attention to, and then there's this aside with this homeless woman who's like crazy, and it's like you're right, and it does go on a little long. It doesn't bother me in this film because I think this film's short enough, but I could see that kind of taking you out of it. And I agree. The other scene where he basically skins a woman and is wearing her suit and he's kind of dancing around. And at first, it is creepy as fuck.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I think like again, this just he needed just to edit it down a little more. Like I think it's tough when you're a filmmaker, right? Because you love everything and you're like, it's all good, it's all good. And if no one's telling you to like cut shit, you're like, I need this because like I love this shot, or oh, it looks so good, the lighting looks really good there. And I think he might like run into that where he's just like, oh, but I love this so much. Like we shot it, I don't want to cut it, And I kind of feel that with this movie, there was probably a lot of like ad-libbing kind of stuff that maybe Art the Clown did, and he's just like, "Oh, that's really cool. Let's put it in." Like I know there's a scene I think where Art like gives the middle finger, which wasn't in the script, and they're just like, "Oh, we got to put that in the movie because that's really cool." And like that's what ends up happening with like a filmmaker, especially like a newer filmmaker. It's like you have all the stuff, and you're like, "It's cool," and you want everybody to see it because you did it. but it doesn't necessarily make the movie better, right? Which I think some of these things like might have for some viewers take you out of it. But like he wanted us to see it. He's like, oh, we did it. So like I hate when I remember I'm making a movie, like it's tough to cut out scenes because you're like, oh, I worked really hard on this scene. We spent like all day or days on it. It like looks really cool, but it like slows down the pacing of the movie. And like I want people to see it because we worked hard on it. But like, if it makes the movie worse, you got to take it out, right?
I mean that's exactly what you have me thinking right now. I mean, as a filmmaker, how much would you say time spent or money spent would determine whether or not you keep the scene or cut half of it? And I'm asking you directly, like what would you keep something just because it's like, oh, I spent so much money on this, and to get this guy in this body skin suit took 3 hours. We need to show it for 10 minutes for it to like how much does that play a role? I guess is what I'm thinking.
That's a good question. For me, early on, huge part. Like
Okay.
it was really difficult to cut out things because I had that in my head. I was like, and I don't want to be like, why did we waste all this time and money? Or like, I don't want the actor to be like, wait, I spent, like you said, I spent 3 hours of makeup and then you didn't even use it. Early on I did that. Now I don't even think twice about it. Like it sucks and I hate doing it. But if it's gonna slow down the movie or like make the movie just not as good, like it doesn't matter. Cause like I'd rather like again, I'd rather people say it's a good movie than be like, oh, like I'm showing something. I could always put the deleted scenes on YouTube or something like that. Just to give an example, like when I did this movie We Are Wolves, and there's a scene where one of the females uses a drill and drills into this other female's leg.
Yeah.
And we spent like hours like trying to set up the scene right to get the blood and to like get the angle, and like blood went everywhere, and it literally took 3 hours to clean up all the blood. And like
Oh
it
wow.
we basically spent half the night on this scene, and then when I got it, it didn't fit. It didn't make sense for the movie. It didn't look good. And it was difficult cutting it out because I was like, we spent so much time on it. And I was like, oh my God, when the actors see this, they're gonna be like, why did I freeze my ass off for 6 hours to get this shot that you're not even going to use? But like, again, like it makes a better movie not having this shot. Like that's what I got to go with. But it's tough though. It's tough every time. So and I think for him it gets challenging.
I mean, we'll give him some leniency. It's his first full length that he did. Everything else was kind of like a short, or he made a like a mixtape and made a a full length. But ultimately, it's the first time he's dealing with understanding pacing and things like that. I wish I could
It's
say he
tough.
learned something, but his movies only got longer since.
Yeah, yeah.
I think each one gets a little bit longer as the series goes on. But yeah, I mean that's some great insight there, and it definitely kind of can maybe understand like what Damien Leone was going through with some of these scenes. And again, I don't have to deal with that. I'm just a watcher, and I just have to go by like what my gut is. And to me, like the as much action and as much gore and blood there was, like the middle just kind of like just falls off a cliff almost. Really just slows down to a point where you're just like, all right, what's going on here? New characters are being introduced, other characters are being kind of like swapped out, and that's definitely something I want to talk about. I would say a shocking moment to me, and only because I forgot about the short, because I did see the short first, and that's why I didn't watch these movies for a long time. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm kind of late getting to these Terrifier films. I really only started watching them last year. And that's because I did watch All Hallows Eve, and I really didn't like the character. I really didn't like the short. I didn't like what he was doing. So the only thing that made me kind of continue to watch Terrifier was just all the hype that it was getting. And you can't be like in the horror world, or certainly not a horror podcaster, and not be familiar with these films. So I did avoid them, and then I finally watched this, and I think what the most shocking moment was is when he pulls out a gun
Yeah.
and he shoots Tara. Now, as much as an iconic slasher killer that Art the Clown is, like very very similar, he's as Michael Myers and Jason, where he doesn't talk or anything like that. I mean, but he does do something very, very different. He uses a gun, which they would never use. And at first, it's like shocking, but it's also it's cool. Like why limit? Why not let him use whatever he has available? And then I remembered that he did use a gun in the short when he shoots the guy like while they were driving. So not only is he driving a car, but he shoots someone. So he has really good aim. Um, but at that same time, Tara dies and there's a new protagonist. So kind of crazy. The sister's name is actually Victoria.
Ah, yes,
I'm looking
yes,
that up now. So her name
yes.
is
Thank you,
Victoria.
thank you.
Her friend is Dawn. The fun drunk girl is Dawn. I'm looking all this up now just to get familiar. And so Victoria essentially takes over for Tara. Again, for a slasher film, that's really, really different to kind of change the final girl,
Yeah,
in the
I
middle
can't
of
think of
it.
a ton of movies where that happens. I know like Halloween 5 it happens, but like and very rarely. So like that's a ballsy move to like to do that because yeah, you're invested in this one character and yeah, for them to like be written off halfway through the movie and now you have a whole nother person is wild. Like I that took balls and I give them credit for it. I agree with the gun too because like like you think about it like if someone told me that like oh it's like oh whatever but you're right it's cool and was surprising and he uses the gun in most of the movies I believe
Yeah,
and
I
it's
like it.
always cool, it's different, it's something different and it just makes you think that like you can't run from this guy. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna. All right, maybe you could run and he doesn't stab you, but he's just gonna shoot you. Like it's like crazy.
I think it also brings up that he has literally every single thing he needs in that bag.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever the situation is going to be, he's going to be able to pull it out of that bag. And if you get some distance on him, he's going to pull out a gun. And honestly, in the
You're fucked.
future, yeah, in the future films, I'm sure if you get too far away with him, he'll pull out like a sniper rifle and take
Or
you out from
a
like
bazooka or
a thousand,
something.
1,000 feet. He's gonna pack everything he needs to make sure he could get the job done. And I could definitely, a lot of people, from what I understand, they kind of think of it as almost like a cop out, and a lot of people don't like it. But I think I mean, what is I mean, there's nothing less brutal about pulling out a gun and shooting someone their face. I mean, it's just as graphic, it's just as gory as any other kill that he performs, and he just don't like shoot you once, even though you're
Yeah.
dead. He'll just like he'll have fun with it, he'll just keep shooting, and I mean, again, once you keep shooting like a dead body, I mean, that's explicit, it just kind of like it kind of moves from like, oh, that was sick to like, ah, it's fucked up. It's like it definitely like I think it kind of transcends because it never stops. Like when you think it's going to stop, like the brutality, like you have an expectation from watching so many films, like Jason's gonna come slash you with the machete, the head's gonna roll off, cut to the next scene, and we move on, They don't. He just constantly stays there. He makes you uncomfortable and he keeps the camera exactly where you don't want it, and if that's far away to see what's going on, that's where he keeps it. If it's up close, that's where it is. So, I mean, he does a lot of great things with these movies. So I know it sounds like I love this movie, but I don't, I mean,
Yeah.
I still have like to me it's there are a lot of times where it's repetitive, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a clown too, and
Yeah. You actually don't like really care about clowns in general, right?
I don't I wouldn't like I've seen some great clown horror in my life, I think 100 Tears is a great film, and Stitches,
Stitches. Yeah. Stitches is great.
there are some good ones, but like I wouldn't watch a trilogy of them, as like a one-off. I could definitely, just watch it, but as a trilogy, you really have to love the killer, I mean, that's why we watch these films. We don't watch it, I mean, I think Tara was great. I thought like I really liked that character. I was, upset when she died, but I understand that, it's the nature of this film. So when you don't care really too much about the other characters, it's like you have to love the killer. And do I love this killer as much as I would love a character like Jason or Michael Myers? It's like no. To me, this is almost like a Chucky, or like something like that. It's almost a novelty to me, just because like I don't love clowns. So I mean, I don't want people like sending me hate mail. It's like we all have our opinions. I'm not saying this is not a great slasher film, but it doesn't mean I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
Like,
I get it. And it's funny because like I'm not really a huge fan of clowns either. I do like that movie Stitches, and there's probably some other clown movies that I enjoy, but it's like not my thing. But I do really like Art the Clown as a killer, and I think I'd like it because it's like a clown I've never seen before.
mm,
Again, I've never seen like a mime clown that's so expressive, and that's just different. And I think even the makeup is very different. Like it's black and white basically, which is like clowns you picture being very colorful, and this is like a completely redesign of that. And I just think that again, the sadistic nature and just the way that he's like having fun and like kind of fucking around in a lot of parts. And again, maybe you like the humor, maybe you don't. I actually do, and I like the little like just nuanced facial expressions he'll make, or like little things that like it just kind of it says a lot to me. And I don't know, I really am into him as a killer. But I completely understand someone that would not like these movies because it is repetitive. It does these things go on too long. But again, it's I respect it because it's nothing I've ever seen before. And to see a slasher done this way is just wild to me, especially like now things are getting a lot more brutal. But I like when this movie came out, like things were calm. When Terrifier 2 came out, like I like we were like going through a thing where like violence was kind of being toned back, and like
yeah.
all of a sudden it's like he does this movie that's fucking balls to the wall crazy, like in these times is pretty wild to me.
Yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from him, and I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked that you like these films so much because slashers really aren't your type
They're
of
not, yeah,
of
they're
horror
not.
films, and they are definitely my types of films. So maybe that's maybe why I'm a little bit more like, because I really want it to be exactly what I want it to be. I do want all this gore. I do want like this like unrelenting violence. I do like all that. I don't even mind the humor, but it's like I have to love the character. And I'm gonna say like as of right now, I don't love the character. And I'm gonna talk about the progression of this character as we move into the other Terrifiers. But looking at the first Terrifier, I'm just like, he's okay. I get it, but don't love it. And I just want to say, just we mentioned 100 Tears a few minutes ago, which is a really brutal clown slasher film, and it has like this like basically like 350 pound giant clown that has a giant machete, but he's like a massive clown. So unlike Art the Clown, this guy almost looks like a wrestler.
Oh wow.
But there
I've
there
never
was
seen it.
definitely yeah, there was definitely a nod to that because when Art kills the exterminator, he foot stomps him and his head explodes. And that was probably pulled exactly from 100 tears. A lot of people got their heads stomped and smashed by this massive clown. A lot more believable when it was like this giant kind of 300-pound clown as opposed to Art. But I definitely know where, what Damien Leone was kind of watching when he was trying to think about like kills and what a clown could do. Because I mean, honestly, 100 Tears is almost like a blueprint for this film with the level of gore and violence. They just didn't have the special effects level that Damien Leone does. But if they did, it probably would have been just as popular as this movie. But definitely up there with like violence and kills. And so I know where he got a lot of his influences from.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of really original things that are in these movies, but
Oh
there are
yeah.
definitely a lot of nods. Like you could tell he's a horror fan. He's seen all of these movies, and I'm sure he's seen that one. Like and some of them, especially in the third one, there's some very like explicit nods to horror movies. But
Oh
in a lot
yeah.
of these, and especially with some of the kills too, it's like he's just taking things that he's seen and making it like a whole nother level. For some of them, some of them are completely original. It's like holy shit, like never thought of that. But like you could tell he's definitely seen a lot of horror movies, and yeah. One thing I thought that was really interesting that I read, this made me like kind of happy as a filmmaker, is when he made this movie and the second one, his crew was no more than 10 people, usually 5 to 10 people at most, which is really small for movies like this. And that's kind of like how I work. My crews are under 10 people. So I thought that was really cool. And you said that basically every member on the crew did multiple jobs.
Oh
Like, so
wow.
people were, it was like people that really wanted to like make these movies, the
The
first two
labor of
anyway.
love. Okay.
Yeah, the third one became like big budget and like had tons of people working on it. But like these two were really just the first two. And the second one doesn't feel as low budget, but like it was basically just like all hands on deck, like scrappy, like which I respect even more. Like he got shit done, which I appreciate.
Yeah, so I think what I found really interesting is, and this was in Variety magazine, so I'm going to take it as fact that his budget was 35,000 and he failed to meet his Indiegogo target. So he couldn't
Oh
even
wow.
raise $35,000
For the
for
first
this
one
film.
or
Yeah, yeah, for the
wow.
first one, which I mean, I just wonder now, like what when everyone was kind of like aware and saw this guy trying to promote his Indiegogo and like, ah, fuck that guy, man. He's gonna make some shitty
Yeah.
movie. And all this dude needed was $35,000 to launch an iconic film series that honestly is probably gonna hit 7 or 8 films. I'm guessing.
As
I
long
mean,
as he wants to do them, it's,
yeah, like he's not gonna give up on this. Every one of them is essentially doubling whatever the last one did. So he's gonna ride this for a long time, and he's probably gonna get bored as a filmmaker, but he's going to know that like this is his film, and it could be like one of those, also like one of those series where other people take over,
right.
where someone's like, "Hey man, can I do Terrifier 5 for you?" And he's just basically a producer or something like that. Kind of like, like Friday the 13th or something like that, where all of a sudden it just starts changing. I mean, it could always go in that direction too, but this is not stopping at 3. This is definitely not stopping at 4. This is just getting started, and it's funny that like basically the horror world was like, man, we're not even going to give you $35,000, which I feel like anyone could raise $35,000. I don't know. That's just,
It's funny because he's in a position now, right? Like if he's got to make Terrifier 4 and it's got to be better than part 3 for the fans. But if he tried to make like another movie, all people are going to say is, why did you not make Terrifier 4?
yeah,
So he's kind of fucked
exactly.
in a way.
He's
Like
screwed.
as
Yeah.
much as his success is like probably I'm hoping he's enjoying it, but like he's in a position now where it's like, what do you do? Like how do you like continue? Like how do you keep topping yourself? And I believe 3 tops 2. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but like yeah, like you want to do something else and all people are going to think about is like this is entire fire and maybe people are going to love it but there's going to be people that are going to hate it and he's just got to deal with that. But yeah, that is funny, like he just needed 35 grand to make
That's
this movie.
that's it. That's all this poor guy needed. And look what he did with it. I mean, I'm not hating on this at all. This is an incredible film. And for $35,000 makes it even better because this doesn't look like a $35,000
It really
film.
doesn't.
And yeah, and I know why. It's because this guy spent day and night, every second he had working on his special effects. That was free, because he was basically doing it. So, and he wrote it and he edited it and he probably just never took a minute to himself until it looked and felt the way he wanted to. So he really stretched that money to make a film that looks like probably triple, quadruple than maybe what it cost. And I mean, he did a great job because I mean, honestly, the special effects alone are $35,000.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, if you had nothing else, if you had zero, nothing else, I mean, some of those special effects were crazy, and they never pull away from them. I mean, when they're doing one of their kills, it's usually like a tight camera on it, and you could see basically everything that's going on, and it's hard to hide, what they're doing. And I think he does such a good job at those effects that, is believable. You believe someone's hacking someone, with a hacksaw, or he's stabbing them multiple times, or he's whipping them with like some sort of scissor whip. I mean, it's all close up, so you kind of like feel it. So I mean, I think he just does a great job at that. So I mean, that's a huge advantage. I hope as he writes more films, he just gets better maybe at the writing part and maybe crafting the storyline a
And
little
the
bit better.
editing.
Yeah, I mean he's really getting away with like murder right now. Like there's no backstory. There's nothing, like we don't know why Art chooses his victims. But what we do know is that when he chooses a victim, he sticks with that person and he'll stop at nothing until that person is dead. But how did he get there? Why does he choose that person? Like this movie starts with, like you said, basically two partying drunk girls on Halloween. He was just walking around. Was he
Yeah.
killing other people at that time and he just thought like, hey, I like these two, or did he choose them because they interacted with him, or maybe because they were kind of making fun of him, or because they didn't like him? Like why did he stick with these two and stop at nothing until basically they were all dead? We don't know any of that. We don't know what his motives are. We don't know why he's supernatural. We don't know anything, and don't really think we find out too much in the next two. But I think he needs to start kind of building the universe to just make it a little more understandable.
What's interesting, and then we'll wrap it up and move on to the next one, is they do reference, I think it's in either at the very end of this movie or in the second movie, that his massacre was, I think, 8 people or 9 people, and that's the body count for the movie. So they make it seem that his first kill is basically what we see. So what was he doing before all of that? No one knows. And maybe he was in a different town killing people, but these are the first kills in this town
Mm.
that he's credited with. So yeah, did he just appear? Like we don't know,
And
but
why Miles County? Does he live there? Did he used to
yeah.
live there? Was he a resident? Like there's so many questions that really aren't answered. I mean, I feel like any other slasher, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't need to be sophisticated. It could just be a very short, brief kind of understanding. So we just kind of know where the character came from. Why a clown? Why Miles County? Why does he choose his victims? Like, what is the point of all of it? What is this? We know Jason. It's revenge, and like they're not like really deep stories, but you have like an understanding of like what you're watching. So I think maybe, hopefully, in his next film, he kind of develops that just a little bit more.
Yeah, and we'll talk about 2 and 3 in a minute. And he does kind of try to build a lore, but it doesn't make a lot of sense, which we'll get to in a bit. But like let's wrap this one up. Let's
Okay.
rate this one. So I'll let you go first. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we rate each movie on a scale of 0 to 5 bloody knives. And what ends up happening is we play a little drinking game here because we're drinking. And the number of bloody knives I give is the number of seconds Jerry needs to drink, and vice versa. So I will let you go first and give me your point of view. 0 to 5.
Okay. Yeah, and I just want everyone to know that every sip I have of this drink is gross. So I'm really
You're
being
fucked.
tortured. So
Yeah.
I'm really nervous about what Rich is going to say. But for me, listen, I like this film. I don't want to kind of allude to like how I'm going to rate the next films, but I like this one. It's a good slasher film. I could look over, the few things I don't like. Overall, there were some things that I really, really liked. I love the pizza place scene. I just love the whole atmosphere of it and everything that's happening in there and the way he's
It's a
kind
cool
of like,
scene. It's a really cool
yeah,
scene.
like the awkwardness and the way like Tara's just kind of like staring at him and they're trying to eat, and like there's some other guy like, oh, is he bothering you? Like this guy's gonna do something. Like they don't know who they're dealing with. And I just think that's like just a fun scene in itself, and that's something I can watch all the time. So I'm gonna give this one three
Okay.
bloody knives. It was a good film.
Yeah, no, that's more than I thought you would give it. I mean, now that we're talking about it, I'm kind of seeing that appreciation. I actually, as you know, I love this movie. Are there things that could be better? Yeah, but I give it a lot of credit for being like a first film, low budget film. I'm gonna rate it really high, because I have watched this movie many, many times, and I'm gonna give it 4.5. So let's drink
Oh my
together.
Lord.
Let's cheers to that. I got three, you
There's
got four and a
so
half.
oh.
Hmm.
Finish my drink. Damn it.
Oh. Are you gonna pour more of that, or are you moving on to the bullet?
I am going to push through. I want to feel tortured by Art the Clown and just keep going with it. So I'm gonna get some ice, and then we'll take on Terrifier 2.
All right, so we talked about like how creative some of the kills in this movie and some of the other ones are, and thinking about that, I put together a little drinking game for us.
What?
But here's the thing. I have a feeling that I'm gonna get really hurt hard in this because I tried to make it easy, but we'll see what happens. So this game is I'm going to describe a kill from a movie, and you're gonna guess what movie it is. And if you get it right, I drink, and if you get it wrong, um,
Oh,
wait, if you get it right, I drink. If you get it wrong, you drink. Yeah, and I tried to pick movies that I know you've seen. So I didn't. There's not like a weird thing in here that you're like, what the fuck? Maybe it's a movie you
okay.
haven't seen in a while, but it's a movie you haven't seen. So I'm gonna go through this. I think I have either 10 or 11, and I'm
Wow, I'm a little nervous because I got the new riff over here, and every one I get wrong, I got to take a sip of it. So,
yeah. I'll be honest. I'm actually nervous because I think you're gonna get a lot of these.
oh
So
man.
I'm going to start, and some of these are easier than others, but here we go. And if you're playing at home, feel free to guess. And if you get it wrong, you got to drink. I'm sorry, I don't care. Fuck y'all.
Yeah,
All right.
especially if you're at
So
work, you should be drinking along
uh,
with us.
and I'm going to try to describe these without using character names. So just bear with me, everybody. Hopefully, I don't sound like a moron. All right. So first one, the killer stabs a man repeatedly in the back through the bed that the person is lying on with a machete, and he slams the bed shut, bending the victim into a V shape.
I can see it. Freddy vs. Jason.
Correct. I drink. See, that's so bad.
Feeling a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, yeah. No, trust me. I'm like, as soon as I made this game, I was like, oh fuck,
Oh,
I'm gonna get fucked. All right. A person is watching a video. In the video, we see a lawnmower tracking across the lawn. A face appears in the dim light, only to disappear beneath the lawnmower's blades.
um, Dead Alive?
No, this is sinister.
Oh, oh, I knew it.
I figured when I said home movie, you would get it, but okay.
Home movie. Oh, damn it.
All right. All
I'll
right. All
I'll
right.
take a sip.
Yeah, that might be you're probably gonna get the rest of these, but we'll see. The killer shoves a person's head into a sink full of liquid nitrogen. Her screams cut short as her face freezes.
I'm gonna go with. Oh, I have to like sort through a lot of bourbon.
Hmm.
Uh, Say it again. Sorry. One more
Yeah, no
time.
problem. The killer shoves a woman's head into a sink full of liquid nitrogen.
Okay.
Her screams cut short as her face freezes.
All right. I'm envisioning now. Jason X.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. A woman is doing yoga. A man comes up behind her and shoves a hook through her torso up into the head and pulls it around like a knotted pretzel.
In a Violent Nature.
Correct, I drink. See?
I feel like I'm doing like my review at work right now. I don't know why I'm so nervous.
It's because of what is it you're drinking again? That shit.
The new riff.
Ugh. Okay. The killer presses a jar of cockroaches up against a person's stomach, heats it with a flame to make them burrow into his flesh. Something very similar happens in Terrifier 3.
Yeah. Oh my God. Cockroaches. Sorry, repeat it one more time. Let me.
No problem.
I'm trying to
The
envision the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scene.
No
Yeah.
worries. The killer presses a jar of
A
cockroaches up
jar.
against a person's stomach, then heats it up with a flame to make them burrow into his flesh.
I don't have it. I don't know.
The collector.
Damn it. Oh.
Yeah, I thought you would have got that one. I feel like you just
Oh,
want
I
that.
watch it all the time. All right, I'm taking
Okay,
my sip.
take your sip. All right. The victim grabs a shotgun as his weapon of choice, points it at the killer, does not fire a shot off. Instead, the killer grabs the shotgun and impales the victim with it, pinning them to a wall.
Pin them to a wall. Oh my God, I'm blanking. Um, is this Halloween 5?
Halloween 4.
Oh,
Damn.
I was trying to sort them out in my head. All right, I'll take my sip. Oh,
Some of these. Okay, let's see. Okay.
this is tough. This is not that easy because I'm trying to like envision the scene in my head and there's a lot of kills out
Yeah,
there.
it's tough when someone's actually saying the words versus
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
actually seeing it. So I get it. But anyway.
No, I like it
Okay.
though. I like it. I like it. I'm 50-50, so it's okay. It's okay.
All right. So the protagonist finds a blender bashes one of the killers over the head with it, then stabs him on the top of the head with the exposed blender blades, and then plugs the blender in, making a puree of his skull.
This sounds like you're next.
That is correct. You're next. Okay. A couple is making out in a car. The killer jumps on the hood of the car with a shotgun and fires one shot, turning their heads into bursting cantaloupes, basically.
I feel like this has happened. Is it Maniac?
It is Maniac,
All
correct?
right. Whew.
Which again, for everybody saying that like the people hating on Art the Clown using a gun, like that's one of the most iconic
Yeah,
kills
I mean,
ever is that Maniac shotgun blast. So like,
I haven't seen that in years. Did they do that in the remake or no?
no, they did not do that in
They
the remake.
don't. See, man, that's bullshit. Because I mean, that's one of the things you remember.
Okay, one of the female protagonists is trying to take out one of the killers. She performs oral sex on him before biting off his cock.
Oh my God! Wait a minute. Um, what is this? What is this? I'm not going to make you repeat it. I'm just trying to sort through it in my
Please don't make me repeat that.
head. I am.
Women biting off cock is
Yeah,
basically what I'm
yeah,
going to repeat.
yeah. It's not coming to me. I don't know it.
Last house on the left.
Oh,
All right, I got two more after this one.
oh my God. Okay. I'm still
Damn,
fifty-fifty.
I like thought you were gonna get every one of these. Okay.
Well, it's hard. It's hard, like when you're just trying to sort through every movie on Earth.
The thousands of movies you've seen and the
Yeah, I
barrels
watched
of bourbon you've drank.
I watched 20 movies this week, so it's like all right. Go
All
ahead, keep
right,
going.
so a victim is tied between two trucks. The killer sets these trucks into motion, tearing the person in two.
Okay, and I know this because I actually watched this yesterday afternoon. So I work from home a lot, and I usually have some sort of movie in the background. And I actually had this movie on the background. Is this The Hitcher?
It is the Hitcher.
Yes.
Correct.
So that was luck. That was luck right there.
Okay, last one, and I only think you might get this because I think you've seen it recently.
Is there a wager on this one or no?
Oh shit! Yeah, you want to do wager? What do you want? How do you feel?
I don't know how I feel. I feel like I'm 50-50. So, I mean, this is 50-50. I'm going to get it. If someone asks me if I could win $1 million and I just bet 50, I mean,
Gotta
50%
go
sounds
hard.
good. I got to go for it, right? So I'm going to bet 3 sips on this one.
All right, so you get it right. I drink three sips.
Yeah.
You get it wrong. You drink. Okay, here we go. Uh, the victim is shooting at the killer. He kick. Oh, she's in a car. She's in a car. She's shooting at the killer. He kicks the car door open, causing her gun to swing towards her, and she ends up shooting
What?
herself.
Oh my God. Oh no. Oh shit.
I wouldn't have got this because I've only seen this movie once, but I did know you watched it recently. So
I know I did. I did. I did watch it recently. It's in my head. It's just the name of the movie's not coming to me. What the hell?
I'll say it one more time for those at home. A victim is shooting at the killer. She is in a car. He kicks the car door, causing it to swing back towards her, hits her, and causes the gun to turn on herself, where she shoots herself.
It's not coming to me. I'm gonna lose this one. I don't know. I don't even have a
Halloween,
guess.
Halloween Kills.
I did just watch this like
Yeah,
two
that's
weeks
the
ago.
only reason why, because like I
Oh,
never would have got that. Three
all
sips,
right.
give it to
I'm
me.
taking my sips. That was a good game.
All right, cool. See, that's what happens when you don't come up with the drink. So what happened at home, guys, is like Jerry texted me and he's like, "Yeah, I know this is gonna be a fun episode, but I do not have a drinking game plan." So he left it up to me to pick one, and that's what happens.
That's all right. I'll take the loss. That was tough, man. That was a lot of new riff, and I feel a little different now that I drank that much of the 100 proof. So we'll see how these next two films go. But yeah, no, that was definitely a good game. I think my hard trivia card was probably pulled because I only got half of those right. But
No, it's tough, and it was tough finding like again. I was trying to find movies that I know you've seen, hopefully a
yeah,
bunch. Like every time you look up, if you Google like creative kills, it's like the same five movies that keep. It's like Final Destination, Nightmare on Elm
yeah, yeah,
Street, and it's like you're not gonna know Final Destination 3 versus like it all blends together, and like a lot of these movies with like huge franchises, it's tough to pick like
yeah. Especially
which
when there's like
one.
20 kills per film. There's 10
Yeah,
films. You're never gonna remember. It's like trying to pull out a something from Wrong Turn. It's like
Yeah, which
what?
one? Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
which
Yeah,
one?
so,
I don't know.
and like I did pick
But
some franchises in there, but I figured it was like ones that you would know. But like,
those are good
it's tough.
questions.
It's
I'm
tough.
not
Yeah.
I'm not knocking the questions. I did not have my trivia head on.
Good
So
thing Tim
next
wasn't
time.
here because Tim would have got them all right. Tim
Tim,
Mills
I
would have got
got him
every one of them
right, and
right.
we have told you the year that that the film came out as well.
And what
And
minute into the film it happened?
if anyone wants to know, we're actually going to be guesting on Tim's podcast tomorrow night. So we're going to do this again tomorrow. And if you guys want to hear us get drunk on some other podcast, then maybe we'll let you know when that one drops.
Yeah, we're gonna make a mess somewhere else for once.
Yeah, we're gonna ruin someone else's life. But sorry, Tim, we love you.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Jerry was saying, it's like Tim asked him, like, "Would you guys mind playing a drinking game?" It's like, no, we hate that. Like, we would never want to do that. I'm
Listen,
scared. I'm scared of what drinking game he's gonna come up with though, because he knows a lot more shit than we do.
we're,
Like, I'm not good at horror trivia, like nuanced things. Like, I could pick out maybe like if you tell me 1989 or 90, maybe I could figure that out. But if you ask me like the killer's name in fucking Scream 4, like I don't know.
there's there's one reality, and that's that I'm gonna lose terribly no matter what happens. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, let's
Yeah,
get back into art, man.
the only way you might win is if like I team up with KDK and then I lose. That's usually what happens. But like, all right, so let's get back into these. Terrifier 2. It came out in 2022, and 8 years after. I'm sorry, wait, 6 years after Terrifier came out. This one was a bit of a struggle for them to make. It cost a little bit more. He had to raise, I think, 250K, which again, not a lot of money at all. Especially when you consider Smile cost $17 million, like, and this cost
Whew.
250. But what ended up happening, the big problem with it is they started shooting it, I believe, in 2019 and shot a bunch of it, and the pandemic happened
Oh,
and
I
they
didn't know
shut
that.
down.
Really? Oh, I
Yeah,
had
and they
no
had to
idea.
like kind of wait. And like one of the things that happened is they basically started shooting. There's a pretty much the big kill in this movie is what's her name? When one of the girls basically like Art shows up as a trick-or-treater and he kills this girl in her bedroom and basically mutilates her,
Oh,
pours
Allie.
salt,
Yeah,
Allie pours
Allie. Yeah.
salt and like bleach all over. It's a graphic, brutal fucking kill. And apparently they started shooting the kill. They shot like a few days just to shoot this kill. Pandemic happened, and then they had to wait like a few years or like 2 years to like get back in and reshoot it, which is pretty wild. Um, but what ended up happening was like they looked at the footage and realized it wasn't very good and just completely redesigned the kill and reshot the whole thing. But that's what kind of happened. So there's a bit of a break for them to actually get back to filming it. So that it took a little longer than normal.
That's super interesting. And I think I just read something really interesting. I guess I didn't realize it was that kill, but they actually did a fundraiser just for that kill.
Yeah, and I believe the people that did the GoFundMe were people they used as actors in the
Oh,
clown
wow.
cafe scene,
Really
which
interesting. Okay.
yeah, which one of my big gripes about this movie, I'm going to take it back for a second. So when I saw this movie, I saw it in theaters and I think I went to like a midnight showing of it, like the night it started. And originally this was supposed to just play over a weekend. Like they were not expecting it to blow up. They were going to do like a Friday, Saturday showing and that was it. But so many people came out to see it. It had such a strong opening weekend that they ended up letting it play for a while. And I remember going on that Friday night to go see it. And I remember walking out of there and being like, holy shit, this is one of like the best movies I've ever seen. I don't care that it's 2.5 hours. Like I loved it. Rewatching it, I have a different take on it now.
Okay.
Because I think I got really caught up in, again, seeing this for the first time in a theater. Like no one was really a big Terrifier fan at that point. Like, I mean, they were, but like it wasn't like as big a deal. And I was really feeling good about it. And again, one of my gripes about this film watching it now is it's too fucking long. And there are certain sequences that are very long. And one of them is there's a very long dream sequence, which takes place in the clown cafe. And a lot of the actors in that scene, I believe, are people that donated to the film via GoFundMe. And that's kind of what I've read is that's why they kind of did this scene was to give them something to do. And some people love the scene. It's an iconic, I guess, scene. I hate it. I think it's boring and I could do
Yeah.
without it. And I could also do without when they go back to it later on in the movie. Like it kind of
Hmm.
slows down things to a halt. So that's that. But I didn't know that was the money they raised was for that specific kill. And that kill is insane. It's like I don't know if anything will ever top the girl getting sawed in half to the vagina, but like this was fucking crazy, this kill.
Yeah, it's a brutal kill, and the fact that her mother comes home in the
Oh my
middle of
God.
it, and he's just like brutalizing this poor young girl like in her bedroom. I mean, it's insane, but at the same time, I feel like if maybe she just gave him some candy, she would have been all right. Now, I had a lot of very nice things to say about Terrifier 1. Terrifier 2, I think I realized is probably my problem in this trilogy. I don't like this movie very much. I have a lot of issues with it. Do I think the practical effects were ramped up a lot? Yes, yes, hell yes. I mean, they spent their money on the effects. The kills were great, but there was just so much bullshit in this movie, and there were so many characters I didn't care for, and so much plot line I could care less about. It just felt like it was almost like what you said before. He's trying to do too much. It's just a mashup of too many things. So I'm just going to go over a couple quick things and we could talk about them. One, they introduce you to the little pale girl who is basically his partner in crime throughout this film. Kind of makes me feel bad because he's like lonely and he's kind of imagining this person. The second problem is the clown cafe. It's just it goes on too long. And my last problem really is when they're in the Terrifier, which is the amusement park ride, and just that whole scene is like 35, 40 minutes, and I probably lose interest after 10 minutes. So it doesn't even matter what happens in any of these scenes. Yes, the guy takes out a Tommy gun and he wipes out like 15 people in the clown cafe. Yes, people are getting brutally beat down in the Terrifier, but guess what? I don't care, dude. I just don't care. It's fucking boring. And you could keep throwing flesh and blood at it and gore at it. It doesn't make it more interesting. I'm sorry. It's just, it's too long.
No, I honestly I do agree with you. And on the rewatch, and I've seen this movie a bunch of times since I saw it in theaters 2 years ago, but I do like it a little less every time I watch it. And my main complaint is it's an hour too long, and that's a long
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
and it's not just like so the movie starts off I think pretty cool like the first 10 minutes when they introduce like they bring Art back and like you meet the little girl, and then it kind of like grinds to a halt for like 40 minutes or so where again they start off kind of developing the characters a bit. Then there's like this 20-minute long dream sequence, which again it is cool that he shoots people with a Tommy gun, but by the like you said, by the time that happens, I'm kind of already checked out, and like I'm literally looking at my phone, and then I look up, oh, he's killing people. Like that's what happens there, and then there's like a whole maybe 20 minutes of stuff where Sienna, who is the final girl, and her little brother are like in high school, and then there's like a bunch of weird shit that happens. It's like all stuff that you could easily cut out. And one thing I would say, if you wanted to make this movie better and tighter, I think it needed to just focus on Sienna and not the brother, because the movie kind of takes parallel paths where it's kind of equally trying to develop both characters. I think Sienna is great. I think the actress is really good. I'd like her a lot as a final girl. The brother is goofy, annoying, and just like I know there's definitely fans that like him and things like that, but you need to pick one that you're going to follow. And I think if they just would have stayed with her, it would have been a tighter movie. It would have made a lot more sense. Have her have a little brother, but don't have him like we go off on like 20 minutes with just him and you just don't care. So it slows the movie down. And I think again, like I don't know how long the script was, but he could have cut probably fucking 100 pages from this script and like it would have been a much better movie. And I hate to say it because I'm a big fan, but this one is too long. It's hard to watch because it does slow a lot. And getting to the end scene, so like you were saying, that final maybe 30-40 minutes of the
30,
movie
40
is
minutes, easy. Yeah.
is in a haunt that they actually found a real haunt that they
I like
like
that.
yeah, which is cool. And Art is basically chasing Sienna, her brother, and some other characters through this haunt. And at first, I'm really into it, but it does like kind of slow to a crawl at some point where kind of like, some shit happens to Sienna. Like she goes back to the clown cafe. Like a bunch of shit happens that like you're into it. And then it just kind of like you're following him chasing and all this stuff happening. And then like it just, there's like probably 10 to 15 minutes where like you're just like, okay, could we get to the end at this point? And it does happen. And as much as a fan I am, like you needed to kind of like pull back a lot. And again, I think this was again one of those things where he's like he doesn't want to edit himself and just thinks it's all really cool and it's like this scene's cool, this scene's cool. Like maybe the clown cafe scene is cool on its own. Like if that was a short, maybe that's cool, but like you put that in the context of a 2.5 hour movie and it loses you. It does. Like
Oh
so as
God.
cool as some of these things are, like it does kind of take you out of it. And again, I think when I saw the movie, there's like lots of things that are very confusing. Like it's almost like he like didn't even I feel like there's more that he didn't shoot. Like I feel like or like you know what I mean? Because there's like parts that are left out about the lore of Art the Clown, and they never explain like why Sienna kind of has superpowers. Like it doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
that's they
I
definitely
didn't
allude to that.
yeah,
Yeah.
the first time I saw it, I didn't care because I was like along for the ride, and I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, this is just cool. But now when you watch it, like if you watch it as like a standalone, like if they never made the third one, you'd be like, okay, what the fuck did I just watch? Like it's bizarre and doesn't make a lot of sense. And even after the third one, it still doesn't make a ton of sense if you like watch it. But look, it is what it is. Like again, the kill's super cool. It's stylistic. I love the synth score. I think there's some amazing scenes in the movie. But yeah, he could have cut an hour out of this movie and it would have been much better.
Yeah, 100%. And
An
for
hour is
me,
a lot. An hour is a long time. Like
I mean, for me, the character Jonathan, he sinks these films.
the
I'm
brother, right?
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry if he DMs me tomorrow after listening to this. He sinks it. I mean, honestly, his lispy voice and his shitty acting, um, his weird mannerisms, not a good lead, Lauren Lavera, she's strong in this film. I'm going to talk about her a bit in the next film. She's strong in this film, but I think that just has to do with her like her limited dialogue and her limited basically acting that's necessary. This is a much different film than the third one, and I'll talk about that in more detail when I get to the third one. This is more like almost like action horror, and she could definitely do that very well. So I think she was perfect for this exact film, and I think she was great, and you kind of you like her and you root for her and you want her to do well. And one of my favorite scenes in this entire movie is when they're in the Halloween store. I love
Yes.
that, and she gets like stuck downstairs in like that basement area, and it's just her and Art the Clown shows up, and she knows she has to like walk past him to go up those stairs. And I mean, and everyone ever in life, they always have that one awkward moment where there's something like you don't want to do, but you
Hmm.
have to, you have to do it, and you don't know how it's going to turn out. And the first time you're watching it, we're all like going, what the fuck's gonna happen now? Is this gonna be okay? Is she gonna get past them? And it's okay, but it's like everyone knows that awkward feeling is. And I like when she's like paying for her stuff and he's putting on all those goofy
Oh,
glasses.
it's just it's amazing. It's creepy and funny, but scary too at the same time.
Yeah, and to me that is really like that's the Art the Clown that I like. That's the Art the Clown that I could really get behind. He's just kind of being funny without being too funny. He's being creepy without being over the top. It's just really, really effective. I think that whole scene, the whole atmosphere of the scene, the lighting, just the comfort of that scene. There's a lot of things about it that I really, really get into it. And then of course with the brutal end, the with the way the guy that works at the at that store clerk, he gets a meat cleaver to the head. I mean, it's like they have this really kind of like comforting scene that's awkward at times, but like everyone likes it. Everyone likes that scene. I mean, there's like
It's a great scene, and I think what they do that's in some of these scenes in the Terrifier movies, it's uncomfortable.
yeah,
And like you could watch it, you watch a Friday 13th or a Halloween movie, and I back I say I don't love those movies because I do, but there's like never scenes where I'm like uncomfortable, where I'm like actually anxious as to what's
yeah.
gonna happen. And that scene in particular, you're fucking like, what? Yeah, what is
Yeah,
gonna
what is
happen?
gonna
Like you're like,
happen?
is he gonna just hack her up there? Is he just like you don't know? And it makes it like even and again, even like the big kill we were talking about, where again Art shows up at this girl's house, knocks on the door to trick or treat. It's like uncomfortable. Like they have this exchange where again she doesn't want to give him candy and he's kind of like just being like silly, but it's like uncomfortable because you're like, fuck, is he just gonna bust through the door right now? Is he gonna pull out a gun? Like, what's gonna happen? And then he just walks off and you're just like, oh. like you're relieved. And I think they do those scenes really well. It's just like you said, too much like what we call Ishtar, where it's like nothing's happening. By the time you get to some of those points, you're already kind of checked out. I think this movie would have been much tighter if you take the opening scenes with Art the Clown, have all those, maybe you introduce Sienna, and then you cut right to that scene in the
Yeah.
Halloween store, because there's probably 40 minutes before that happens. You could easily cut out that half hour, have the movie kind of start there, and then go on. It would have been a much tighter movie.
I mean, there's a weird subplot with Jonathan playing with like a dead possum, which
Yeah,
really went
cut it.
on
They could have
like
cut it. Could have
just
cut that
cut that
out.
out. A fucking dead possum. Are you kidding me,
Gross.
man? With fucking dead animals. It's so stupid. Again, I think I went on about this in the last episode. I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
it again.
yeah, yeah.
But like why do you need
You
did
didn't
that
need it.
help?
You
Did
didn't
that
need
help
it.
the film? Did it make you like Jonathan more or less? No, it didn't do anything at all to the storyline or for the characters. Unnecessary. And I think, similar to the last film, you really do appreciate the parts with Art, but I do think Sienna did bring something to this film where like you kind of got into the character and you knew she was like a talented costume maker and she was like really creative and there's some sort of backstory about her father and how he was, drawing these characters and made this sword for her. And again, they didn't dive too deep into it, but you understand like this is a character and they have a past. And I liked when she went to the Halloween party and her friend Brooke gives her some Molly. And like after that, like you really don't know what's going to happen because everything that happens after that point, it's like you have to remember she's on Molly.
Yeah.
That didn't stop. She literally just dropped it and then they leave and then they basically end up like kind of like in this confrontation with Art and everyone that was involved, her friend Brooke, her boyfriend, all these people, they're just like fucked up and they're just like dealing with this creepy clown. And I also think it kind of like built up Art's supernatural ability a little bit more. Then we know he could like impersonate voices and things like that. I thought that was interesting. That was not an ability that I don't think we knew that he had. So not only is he supernatural, but he could kind of like fool you and trick you into doing things that he wants you to do. And again, I thought that was a nice new layer about him and definitely made him more interesting. I thought it was funny that he was kind of like following that kid Jonathan in a van. So he's just like driving around in a van. There are
I know he
definitely some,
drives. It's funny.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, he drives, he shoots guns, like he's almost like a human, but he's not. And I think, it's funny how they just kind of play with that line of what kind of killer he's going to be. At one point, he's just a weird guy in a clown costume driving, and then in the next moment, he could impersonate voices, and he's supernatural, and he could appear wherever he wants to, and things like that. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of depth about Art. And they kind of expand it a little bit in this film. They don't explain it, but they definitely expand it. But yeah, I mean, again, a lot of good kills in here. But I mean, that's really all I could say about this film. Like, I don't have any other positives. I just,
yeah, I don't either, to be honest with you. Again, I like this film? Yes. Like, do I appreciate it? Yes. Do I wish it was an hour shorter? Absolutely. Like, it's a problematic movie. I wish it was better written. I wish it was better edited. And again, before they made the third one, I appreciated it a lot more. And we'll get to the third one. Now that I've seen the third one, I'm just like, I don't know like how often I'm ever going to watch this one again. Because I'm just going to watch the other ones, and we'll get to that in a second. But look, again, it's just like, it's his epic, right? It was his kind of opus at the time. He made one film, it blew up. Well, probably didn't even blow up, right? Because he still didn't really have a
I feel
budget.
like this one is the one that
This is
blew
the one
up,
that blew him
honestly.
up,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah,
that's
because
kind of the way I feel.
he
Yeah.
still kind of like self-financed, this one, still was on a crew of 5 to 10 people, still did all the effects. Like, again, they did not expect this to be as big as it was, and it just people there, the fan base came out for him. And, again, that's really it. So yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. I think we could move on to the newest one. Let's rate this one and get out of here.
Yeah, I'm in with that. Yeah, we're gonna cut this, unlike Damien Leone cut his film at
Yeah.
the proper time. Because if there's one thing I know, it's when a party's over, and someone should tell Damien Leone that it's very important nuance to learn in life, and you just have to know when to say when. So this is the end of this conversation about this
Yeah.
movie
Nothing more to
because there's
say. So
literally nothing else to say about it. So I'm gonna rate this one. I mean, go ahead, send me the mail, people. I'm giving it a 2.
you know what? Like that's actually more than I thought you would give it, to be honest with you. I'm actually giving it a 3 because I
Wow.
still do like it. I'm a big fan, but it's just better than average, I guess. But yeah, I'll get it a 3. I'm gonna stick with that. I go
All
back and
right.
forth between 3.5 and 3. I'm giving it a 3. Cheers.
Cheers. Ah,
Woo!
man. Woof. Wow.
Yeah,
The
all
new
right.
riff. It's going down. There's not much left, people.
All right, I got some a little ice in here. I'm gonna pour a little more because we got one more movie to talk about. We're gonna
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about 2024's Terrifier 3. And
Ooh.
okay, so I saw this one in the theater and I loved it in the theater, and but I was like, you know what? The theatrical experience is different. I'm gonna rewatch it and rewatched it like 2 days ago. And yeah, I'm just gonna say I love this movie. So basically what happens, it continues right after Terrifier 2 ended. Um, Sienna goes to basically a mental institution. Art kind of hibernates for a little bit, kind of goes to sleep. They bring back Victoria, who was the final girl in part one, who Art basically ate her face and
Gnarler.
yeah,
Yep.
mold her, and now she is kind of under Art's control, like a puppet. So him and her are kind of working together. Sienna gets out of the mental institution and goes to kind of stay with her, I believe, aunt and uncle and niece, and starts seeing visions of Art. And of course, Art does come back. He's awakened and wants to kill Sienna. We find out that the Art is actually a demon is kind of controlling him, I believe, is what they explain it to be. And this demon wants to kind of take over Sienna. And to do so, they need to basically kill everyone she loves and beat her down to do so. That is basically the plot. Is it confusing? Yes. But again, here really the point of the movie, Art killing a bunch of people in fucked up ways. That's it. Like all this other shit, like it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant what
Doesn't
the plot
matter.
is. So yeah, so I think he took part two and kind of took it to the next level. I think this movie is still long. It doesn't feel as long to me, but it is still long. It's just over 2 hours. I think he made a tighter movie. I think it's a better written movie. I think he deals really well with the kind of like the trauma that Sienna's experiencing. I think he kind of explores that. I think they explore kind of people's obsession with true crime. There's a character who's really
Oh,
annoying who's a
yeah.
podcast host, you know,
Fuck.
those damn podcast hosts. But I think what they did too is the character of Jonathan is in this movie, and he's definitely probably more annoying in this movie, but he's in it a lot less. He maybe is on the screen not too much, maybe 15 minutes in total. I'm guessing, which is nice because like you don't want to spend a lot of time with him. I think there's more kills in this one for sure, and some of them are really fucking brutal.
Yeah, to me, this is a huge, huge step up from the last one, and I really wasn't sure what to expect. Again, I probably watched it later than everyone else. Everyone was going to the theaters. When this was in the theaters, this wasn't a good time for me to go. So I kind of had to wait to watch it streaming. So, I've been dealing with all the hype and everyone going on and on and on about it. And I'm like, yeah, I know I heard that for the second one and I just didn't love it. So I just want to say great change of direction going from Halloween to Christmas. Clever. Now you got a new atmosphere, a new storyline, new plot. That's great. I also think this one, you can see where the money went. It's shot beautifully. I mean, this is a gorgeous looking film, if nothing else, with its deep blacks and contrast. It is a nice film to look at. He's not hiding anything with like the grain or like the green filters he kind of used in the last film. Really different direction. So was nervous, but as soon as this started, I was like, I like the way this looks. He's building an atmosphere. And the one thing I could say about Damien Leone, he doesn't wait long to grab your attention. Like this, like he puts the Ishtar in the middle,
Yeah.
not in the beginning, you know? So, I mean, within the first 5 minutes of this film, basically a little boy is killed, and that was off cam. And I was like, oh man, that's so lame doing an off cam kill. But the what they did with the soundscaping was
Oh
so
God.
crazy.
It was
It's like
gnarly.
like you heard like every little crunch and drip and noise coming from that room. You could imagine how vicious that kill was. But it didn't make you wait long. Not even 30 seconds later, he's basically dismembering dad with an axe. And that was brutal. I mean, if you're going to start a movie, that's how you start a movie.
Yeah, I will say that the opening scene and I was also nervous too because I'm like, two is really hyped up. Here we go. We give this guy a big budget, right? Like, let's see what happens. Like, is he gonna make another like kind of messy movie? That opening scene, I will say, is probably like one of the best opening scenes in a horror movie that I've ever seen. Not saying it's the best because there are plenty like, of good cold opens, but that is just great. There's like no music. It's creepy as fuck. It's like, and again, it's nods to like Silent Night, Deadly Night or the Tales from the Crypt episode about Santa. And it is fucking creepy and uncomfortable and brutally violent. And I don't know how long that scene goes on for, but it's an amazing scene. It stands alone as like a great scene, and I'm sure it will become an iconic scene. But it's awesome. That scene is so fucking good. I can't get over it. It's fucking scary and gross. And then not so that kill is off camera. They do take you back, and the mom walks in the room, and you see the
You
dismembered
do
boy's
see like
body,
an arm, you
which
see a leg.
yeah. So
Oh,
like he's
Woo.
not afraid to show you shit, and like that's one thing like you could tell this guy's like I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want to do. And again, there's certain scenes I think he ups the humor a lot in this movie, which some people are not gonna like. I like it. Like the scene with there's a scene where he encounters a fake Santa Claus. I love that scene.
I love that scene.
Okay, cool. I didn't think you would because it is
Well,
kind
it's
of
in a
like
dive
comedic.
bar. It's in a dive bar though, and I like the atmosphere. I normally like so for anyone, I mean, if this is your first time tuning in, which could be because this is a really big episode kind of tackling these Terrifier films, but I'm really all about the atmosphere. So you give me like some sort of like snowy, rainy night, some sort of neon lit bar, some sort of like basement, things like I love atmosphere, and that definitely checked a lot of the boxes. I actually really liked I found it very funny when Art was walking by and he saw the Santa through the
Yeah.
window and he got excited. And I was like, that's cute, because it's like he could be, I mean, I hate to say it, but he could be a lovable character at times where you kind of root for the killer. And I mean, we're the horror heads, so we normally do root for the killer. I don't know how everyone else watches horror films, but we're usually not rooting for, the people. We're hoping that, the killer does what they're supposed to do. But yeah, I just thought that was cute and funny. And then when he walks in, and I just like the whole scene, I like the characters in the
It's a
bar, like the
well-written scene too, I
bartender.
think.
Yeah.
It's
And I mean, I think the funniest thing is like he sits on Santa's lap and then he pisses on him. I mean, like, like to make a point to be outrageous, Art the Clown will piss himself, like, and he'll make fun of the guy who got peed on, not himself. So he's making fun of the Santa because the Santa got peed on, but even though he peed himself, that's not the funny part. The funny part is that Santa got pissed on. So, I mean, I think that's hysterical. And I mean, and where have you seen that before, Rich?
Never, never, never seen it.
Like.
I've never seen a scene like that before in a horror film. Like it's again, they take this slasher and like you said, they make him like kind of lovable and fun at times, and like they put him in these scenarios, but it makes sense. It's like it wasn't like that scene was just thrown in there. It fits. Like
He
it
was
makes
walking
sense.
by, yeah.
Yeah,
It's for
yeah.
Santa, yeah.
Yeah, and he got excited and like he shoves the two girls out of the way just to get to Santa. I tell you what, that scene was great. I think and the other thing that they did in this movie that I cannot believe they did was the scene in the mall.
Oh, where he plays the mall Santa, and
Yeah.
again, that. to me, it was cute. I hate to say it, and I'm not talking about the part that you're talking about. I'll let you talk about that.
No, to get
But
up to that part.
I
Yeah,
just
he's
want to
giving
say to get
toys
up
out
to
to
that
kids.
part, he's happy to be there, and everyone's kind of giving him shit. But he's like, "What? When I'm giving out stuff?"
I'm
But
giving him toys. I'm giving him like dolls, and the kids are happy. They're not even
yeah,
noticing that it's like a sick clown in a Santa
I
couch.
I like that scene, and honestly had no clue what was on the horizon.
Yeah, like I almost don't want to spoil this scene because it's like, but like basically like something happens while he's mall Santa and giving out presents that like if you like list like and again like it's not like you totally see the gore of it and everything like that, but if you take in principle, like if you wrote this down like what happens, it might be one of the sickest things to ever happen like in a horror movie. Like that scene is fucked up.
It was unexpected, and I just again, it's something you never saw in a film, and a lot of times I think Damien Leone's like, what should be in a horror film, and he's really getting back to those roots of what horror should be. It has been watered down quite a bit. Even the slasher genre has been watered down quite a bit, where everything is like, I don't want to say that, I don't want to do that, I don't want to and he literally like he'll cross the lines that no one else is gonna cross, and he doesn't give a fuck. And you want to know what? Our fans appreciate it because we're talking about it right now. It's something that people are going to talk about for years. It's going to be like one of those scenes that's going to end up in like those top 100 like horror scenes of, whatever 2024. It's going to live on for forever. It's just too crazy. I mean, the guy
Yeah.
is crazy sometimes and he goes to the edge. So, I mean, yeah, I absolutely love that. And what we kind of skipped over real quick, which you asked me about it in the trivia question, was with the Jason X question, is that Art gets a hold of a liquid nitrogen tank. And I don't know where he does his shopping or where he got it from. He just kind of had it. Like he just kind of pulled it out. And he was like testing it out. So it seemed like something that he just purchased. I guess he ordered it from
He's gone to
Amazon.
stores before. Like he's gone to, he's got change in part two. He has coins. So
You don't think he just got it from Amazon and
I
just
mean,
showed up a few days later? I mean, like
he waited
I
patiently for
yeah, he just
the
like he's
liquid.
like I can't wait for I did Prime. It should be here in 2 days.
You know
Um,
what? Wouldn't be shocked. Yeah,
so
that kill
that
was
was
amazing. That was fucked
sick.
up. Yeah.
And that was the Santa, essentially, and it's good. There's some backstory there because it's like you always want to know, every single Michael Myers, where does he get his mask from? Where does Jason get his mask from? Where did they get their costume from? This is great. Now we know where he got the Santa suit from,
Yeah. Yeah.
and essentially he freezes the Santa with liquid nitrogen and he takes him apart slowly with a very small hammer. So, I mean, if you wanted to make something brutal, you would take like a sledgehammer and beat the guy to pieces. If you want to make it like over the top, you take a small hammer and chisel this guy apart piece by piece. And of course, that's what Damien Leone did to make this like such a gory scene. So not only does he get the Santa suit, but he basically dismembers someone who's frozen. I mean, it's absurd.
And again, it's wild because if like you were to like tell me if you were to describe each one of these kills to me, like in detail, everything that happens, I'd probably be like, that's probably going to be pretty lame. It's like too much.
Yeah.
Like again, he goes over the top with things and does these like crazy things, but like they're done in such a way that it's actually effective. And like I don't know like what the secret is. Because like there's certain movies, like again, like we were talking about, I think like Hatchet, and Hatchet has these really brutal graphic
Yeah,
kills. But for
absolutely.
me, I'm just not interested. Like it doesn't like hit me. Like it just seems like a comic book. And the way that they set these up, it's I don't know how they do it, but again, like I said, it's very effective. And he's like again, Damien Leone's taking you to this place and like showing you these things you haven't seen before, like, and that no one's had the balls to do, and he makes it work. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, he just knows how to like press those buttons and really show you exactly what needs to be seen without showing you too much to make it like goofy, I guess, or to make it like comical or dumb or kind of make you lose interest. And I think, if I remember correctly, and I watched a lot of things this last week, but Tom Savini has a quick cameo in this. So I mean, you could tell that obviously that's like an influence. And if you're gonna have someone influence like your special effects, Tom Savini is definitely one of them. Because when Tom Savini hits, it's perfect. But also when Tom Savini's off, it's goofy, you know? So I think he learned a lot from like what to do and also what not to do when it comes to like, these special effects. So yeah, a tiny little claw hammer taking apart this Santa Claus. It sounds stupid, but it was like gross. And there are points, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how many films you watch, what extreme horror you watched. And we don't really talk about extreme horror films on this podcast, but we've seen them. I like you've seen everything, but he'll make you turn away.
Yeah.
Like you just like, oh, no, 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 ooh, and he'll show you that one little that 1 inch, that 1 inch of camera that you don't want to see, and we see it, and you're like, oh, you just get grossed out.
Like during the game, we talked about the scene in Collector where again he puts the jar of roaches
Ooh.
up against the person and lights the fire. There's something very similar in this movie that
Oh
happens
yeah,
with
ooh.
rats, but in
Oh
this, it's like it's hard to watch. Like it's almost like you need to
yeah.
turn away. And basically, what happens is Art puts this tube down this woman's throat, puts rats in it, and then lights fire. And then you see the rats like going through her throat, and then he
Oh.
slices her throat, and the rats kind of come out. It's fucking disgusting. And it's like, again, it's not like overly believable because you're like, how is this person surviving this? But like, you're still like, fuck, that is disgusting.
Gross.
And he's doing it in front of somebody else, right? And then later on, like the daughter sees the mother dead, like with this fucking tube in her throat. It's like not only are the kills brutal, it's like how they're done is brutal. Can you imagine that? Like this little girl walks into this room and like sees her mother that just happened to. It's fucking sick. Like it's fucked up and it hits harder. It hits harder based on like the audience. Like, again, like when that woman gets killed, like, Art or whoever shows her like a skull and it's like, this is your dead daughter. And it's like, oh my God, like it's fucking it makes you it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable, but it's good.
So I think that's really what Damien Leone does well with these films. He brings in like that like humanistic element, which really is lacking from, I would say, every single slasher film. When a person gets killed in Halloween and someone runs past them and they see their dead friend, it's for a split second, and like they acknowledge it, and they move on, and you kind of get annoyed at them because they're like freaking out over too much, and they're not paying attention to like the danger at hand. So it's taking almost like the human element out of it when you're watching most horror films. But what Damien Leone is doing is he's sitting it in front of you and he's keeping it there. He's not letting you run to the next scene. He's not letting you run out the door. He's making you sit there and deal with it. And I think that's very different because you do get that feeling. You just get like, what the fuck would I do if I saw that? Like, once if that was like, my mother, or once if that was my wife, and I'm watching this. And that's definitely something you don't think about when watching most slasher films, because you're just like, run. What are you doing? Why are you looking at that person? Just run. Real quick. I don't want to, diverge too far from this movie, but just there's a scene like in like the new Scream movie, in Scream 6, right? Where Ghostface breaks into like a very small Manhattan apartment, right? It's basically like a two-bedroom apartment and there's no room. And they know he's there. They all got attacked. Someone's stabbed. And they have to like run basically and shut the door to the other room so he can't get in. While the character is running by, she sees her friend who's already dead, like kind of like in the bathtub. And she stops and she pauses a second there. And instead of me feeling like that human kind of bond, being like, oh my God, imagine seeing that. Like, oh, that is horrific. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Shut the goddamn door, you know? And that's how that movie makes you feel. It doesn't make you sit and think about it because there's no time. And I think that's very, very different about Damien Leone's films, is that he's going to put that in front of you and he's going to keep it there. And if you ignore it, he's going to keep it there even longer until you really acknowledge it. And then you're like, oh, this is messed up. You know, it's like this is really, really messed up. And I don't want to deal with it. And you're not even the character, you know, like I'm the viewer and I don't want to deal with it. Imagine what the character is going to. So he does put you in that character seat, which I think is kudos to him for being able to do that because normally you ignore that, you're just like, no, man, survival, what's wrong with you, but what can you do when you see like, your aunt like swallowing like mice and you think your niece's skull is in the corner? Which one do you want to look at?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
which one, what's going to make like what's better? What's better in this scenario? Your niece's skull or your aunt swallowing, it's just he puts you in a position where like you're fucked and you can't win. And I think that's really interesting in this film specifically.
Yeah, I mean, just to set the tone, like I would say the last maybe 20 minutes of the movie, it's Sienna's basically tied to this chair, and Art and Victoria are fucking with her. And you have, again, her aunt is in one chair who brutally murdered. Her uncle is tied to the wall, brutally
Yeah.
murdered. There's a skull of one of her loved ones right there. It's like, and this is there the entire scene. And like, there a bunch of shit happens, but like it's there. It's always there. So like, even if it's like the cameras are focusing on it, it's like in the corner you see like a body, like, and you can just experience like what this character is kind of going through, like with all of this shit like just surrounding her. It's just death, and it's there for like it's there. And you at some points you don't notice it, and then you do, and you're like, oh God, like that's just fucked up. So getting back to the Sienna character, I know you kind of alluded to thoughts you had on her in this movie, and I think in this movie they gave her a lot more to do.
They gave her a
Um,
lot to do.
so what? So I think you have a different opinion than me. So let's hear it.
Yeah, so Lauren Levera, I thought she was great because basically in Terrifier 2, there's just a lot of action sequences, not too much, character development. I feel like in this film there was a lot more drama acting for her, and she had to basically play a role. She had to play a role of someone who was in a mental institution, and she was dealing with a lot of trauma, and she was dealing with a lot of issues, obviously after like some post-traumatic things going on there.
Few things, yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm not, and in order to kind of play that out, I think it was difficult. And I don't know if it was her acting ability or Damien Leone's writing. I just don't think it came off well. I think a lot of the scenes were awkward. I think a lot of the dialogue was awkward, and maybe he doesn't know how to write drama scenes for a woman. I don't know. I don't know what the problem was. I just know how I felt. And I think I liked her a lot less in this film, and I was happy that there was a lot less Jonathan, but honestly, I was hoping there was a lot less of her acting in this movie and maybe kind of focusing on the action because I don't think it was that good. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think it was that great.
I have a different opinion, but like I wonder if my opinion is like tainted by the parts with her that I really love. And like I wonder if like I take out some of the dramatic elements and like just watch those. Cause like the note I wrote is like she's one of like the most badass final girls I think I've ever seen in like a horror movie. Like, and I'm thinking about the last 20 minutes of the movie and like just how intense she is, and like what she goes through, like the beatings that she takes, and just keeps fighting and fighting and fighting. And when I think of Sienna in this movie, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of just like, oh my God, she's overcome all of this. She's like so badass, and like what a great female character, that I'm forgetting about some of the scenes where again, she's freaking out over various things. Like, and maybe she comes off like hysterical and it doesn't play well. I don't know, but like I think again, my opinion is I feel like she gave a better performance in this one, but
Really? Wow.
but
Okay.
again, I'm also thinking in terms of like the whole movie and just like how I feel after it. Like after it, I'm like, holy shit, like I just want to see her. I want to see more of her.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I do. And
I want to
again,
see
maybe
less.
yeah, look, maybe like when I if I rewatch it for the third time and I just focus on certain scenes like in the middle of the movie, maybe I'll feel very different. But again, I think there's also enough of like art in this movie, and art does a lot in this movie. He kills a lot of fucking people. So it's like it's not like I'm following Sienna for like 45 minutes, like maybe I was in part two. It's kind of like, she's there for like 5 minutes and some like other shit happens. And so maybe it just plays different for me. But yeah, I actually I like her a lot in this.
I mean, the last 20 minutes to me was more like the action
Agreed,
acting
agreed,
and
agreed. She's
like the
really good at
middle,
that.
yeah, the middle of it was, like the college scene where she goes and meets Jonathan, the dinner with her aunt and uncle, those one-on-one scenes with her and her niece.
The scenes where she's with Jonathan, maybe she just seems better because he's really bad.
He's
And so
he's a
like a lot
bad.
of so mostly in the movie, like when she's there, she's either like freaking out alone, she's fighting, she's with a 8-year-old girl, or she's with
Yeah.
her brother. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like she's better than them. So maybe she just seems to me she seems better than she actually is because I'm comparing her to Jonathan, who I don't think is very good, or you know what I mean? So it's like maybe she's not a great actress, but like I like her in this movie. I want to see her and Art fight in part four. Like I want to see more.
Yeah, again, the action, great. Final girl, great. It's really, it's the other parts, it's
And I would agree with you. He probably does not know how to write for women, and that's difficult.
yeah.
A lot of people can't do that. And I know he gets a lot of crap for like being misogynistic because Art tortures a lot of females. He does torture a lot of males too. And he's Damien's responded to that and saying like I don't feel that way at all. This is just like the movie. Who knows? Like how he really feels, right? But he might have difficulty writing female characters, and that's not a lot of people could do that.
I mean, he does take out a lot of guys, and I definitely want to talk about that one scene. I want to talk about that
Yes,
that
yes.
shower scene if we could get to
Let's
that. I
get to
mean,
that. Let's get to that right
I
now.
I mean, that was crazy.
Before we set up this shower scene, just I read in the movie that for this movie they used multiple 55-gallon drums of blood, and
What?
this scene alone they used 20 gallons, and they actually ran out and they had to go to the store to buy more fake blood.
What
Oh,
store?
sorry,
What store
sorry,
was that?
sorry. No, no, sorry, sorry. They went to the store to buy the supplies to make more because they made it
Oh,
themselves. So they ran out of blood in the middle of the scene and had to go to the store, buy more
damn.
shit, make more blood, and reshoot it. So like that's just to set up this shower scene. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm like, I know like Spirit Halloween has those little pints of blood, but I don't know how many you need to make a gallon,
Gallons. 20 gallons
So
in the scene. So that's a lot of blood.
I mean, yeah, so there is that character which is Mia. She is that fangirl that has the podcast, and shout out to any, podcasters out there. We feel you, we know what you're going through. You're trying to get that big interview. It's very
Yeah,
important.
no, we know.
But we know how it is. But yeah, so I mean, she's basically trying to like coerce her boyfriend into like getting him to get Jonathan to do like this interview for her. So she basically, offers him some shower sex essentially to get him to do what she wants. And I think for no nudity, it was a pretty graphic sex scene. I was like, wow. I'm like, without showing anything, he basically showed as much as he could. So it definitely was graphic as far as the sex scene goes. But during the sex scene, Art shows up and he chose a very interesting weapon for a shower kill. And I totally didn't see this coming. Uh, Chooses a chainsaw.
Hell yes.
I
Hell
mean, what
yes.
the hell?
Hell
I'm
yes.
sorry.
And then so the note I wrote on this is like not only does Art use a chainsaw, he uses it in a way I've never seen before. And what I
Yes,
mean by that
totally.
is he literally is like beating the shit out of Allie. Is
Mm.
that her name?
Yeah.
He is just slamming this chainsaw into her as
Oh,
he
Mia.
hacks
I'm
her
sorry,
up.
Mia. Her name's
Mia,
Mia.
Mia.
Yeah.
He is just brutally like he's not just like sawing. He's like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I was like, it's fucked up. Like it is
Like,
like he took Chainsaw to the next level right there.
so every movie he has like that one crazy scene, and this is clearly like that one crazy over the top scene. I mean, there was blood and guts everywhere. And I don't know if we should spoil it, but let's put it this way, he cuts everything up.
And yeah, yeah, he does. Like, so if you go back to the first movie where he hacks the girl in half through the vagina,
Yeah, yeah.
something similar happens
Mhm.
here to a
Yeah,
male
let
character.
let's not
Yeah.
ruin it, but he definitely makes a puzzle out of everyone that's in that shower, and that was, I mean, it was like I'm like I know Art's gonna show up. I'm like he's coming right now. I'm like, what's he gonna get? Maybe the gun, maybe a knife,
Nope.
maybe the spiked baseball. Nope. That chainsaw was such an insane thought. And again, that's what this character does. He's always going to bring it to the next level, even more than what you expect. So even though I had 100% expectation that both these characters were not walking out of that shower, I just didn't think it was going to go the way it did and to
Yeah.
the extremes that it did. It was over the top, it was crazy, and it was probably one of the best scenes of the film.
I agree. And just like getting into like the sick, like kind of clever humor of it all. Like I love the scene for like right before the scene, Mia and like the guy are like talking and Art is kind of like eavesdropping. And like she's talking about like whatever, how great Art is. He's like making these faces. And then she's like, I don't want to fuck him. And he's like, oh, he makes like a thing, which is really funny. But like it's super funny because he's like, oh man.
Damn
But
it.
then
It's like
she
you're
says
dead
something.
now.
Yeah. And then she says something like, I just want to like, I wonder what it's like to look in the eyes of a killer. And when
Mm,
Art basically is about to kill her, he's wearing these like goofy like sunglasses and he literally drops them down so she looks right in his
just good
eyes. Like,
luck.
oh, it's fucking sick. Like, yeah, I love it. I love that scene.
Crafted perfectly. He gets the biggest scenes right. I mean, that's one thing I could complain a lot about. The characters, my love for the characters, the storyline, the plot, all that stuff. He gets the biggest scenes right though. And once again, A plus. He got this scene 100% right. He could not have done it any better. It was perfect, and it lasted again long enough just to make you be like, oh, just to give you that squeamish sound. And I'm sorry for these sound effects I'm making, but I literally, these are the sounds sometimes I make when I'm watching it, and I normally don't care. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is bad, this is really gross. So, again, I don't know if I'd watch that scene so closely next time, knowing what's going to happen, but it's definitely a level 10 gross, you know.
Yeah, one more note I have about this movie that's really interesting is like so this movie ended up doing like over $50 million in the box office, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And it most likely is a lot higher because what actually happened is it was playing at the same time as Universal DreamWorks' The Wild Robot, which is a kids movie. And when Terrifier 3 came out, Wild Robot saw a pretty big bump in box office. And what happened is lots of kids were buying tickets for Wild Robot,
Oh,
sneaking into Terrifier. So most likely the box office is a little higher. And Universal's acknowledged this is like, yeah, that's probably what happened. It's like, yeah,
wow.
yeah. So it's probably
Clever.
even yeah, it's probably so way even higher than 50 million, which again
You
is just
you ever do
crazy.
that? You ever
Yes.
sneak in you snuck in a movie? What'd you
All the
sneak into?
time.
What'd you
I don't
sneak
I
into?
no, so here's the thing about me, like what I used to do is I used to love going to the movies and I'd post up all day. So I'd go to see one movie and then I would basically
Oh,
watch multiple movies in a day, especially on holidays. On like Thanksgiving, I would if I didn't have like family things, I would spend all day at the movies. I would just
you're a bad motherfucker. I never did
yeah,
anything
yeah,
like that, man.
yeah.
I buy
I'll
my
do that
tickets and
now.
I
I'll do
go.
that shit now. I don't give a fuck. It's too expensive to go to the movies, man. Fuck them. Fuck them. One for Wild Robot, please. And just post up all day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And if anyone from the FBI, CIA, police are listening, we this is just for dramatic effect, and we
Yeah.
are
No,
lying
I
about
never
everything we
do that.
say here.
And one last thing for like a brief couple of months, I worked at a movie theater and I was supposed to, my job was to clean up the aisles. And mostly what I did was just kind of hid out in various movies and would watch movies. And I remember
Mm,
there were a few movies that came out that I saw many times, unfortunately, because there's nothing else to do. I think I saw Dumb and Dumber like 30 times.
mm.
Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight was out at that time, so that like 30 times. But it's like it was either I
Was that
could work.
94? I felt like
Yeah,
94.
exactly. Yeah, I could either work or I could watch this fucking movie, and I chose that every time.
Hell yeah.
And I got caught multiple times like sleeping. I remember I went to like I went to like the Lion King or something like that, and I like fell asleep, but my boss like was shaking me to wake me up. Like, what are you doing? I was
Wow.
like, ah.
Oh man, that's funny.
I wish they were hiring now. I'd probably go back.
I mean, that's not bad, man. Movies are expensive, so it almost is like income. So
All right, so let's wrap this one up. I
yeah,
could
hell
go on and
yeah.
on. We talked about Terrifier for like 2 hours now.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna get my rating first because I hope you have a lot in that glass because I don't know if I think I've probably done this to one other movie. Maybe it was Midsummer. I forget, but I am giving this. I'm giving it 5. I love this movie.
Wow.
I I love it. Is it a perfect movie? I don't know. Like maybe there are things I would change, but I will watch this movie many, many times over the next few years. And I think coming after part two, like I'm just gonna watch this movie. I love this movie. Five bloody knives for me.
5. Wow. All right. So I don't think did you give a 5 before?
I might have done it one. I think I might have done it for
Don't think
Midsummer.
so. I
If
think you
not, I
gave it
don't.
four and a
Four and a
half.
half, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to.
Wow.
Any
This
listener,
is
let me know. But
yeah, this is
I'm doing it
epic.
here.
This is
Yeah.
epic, people. This is a 5. This is the 22 episodes, and I think
Woo! It
we
took
got
that
our
long for me to get here.
I think we got our first 5. So that's impressive. I like this
Have you
film.
given a 5 before?
I have, yes.
What do you remember? What?
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Okay, fair,
um,
fair.
yeah, I give that a 5. I'm not giving this a 5. I
Right.
did like it. I liked it a lot. I would give it a 3.5. So
So wait, so let's recap. So what you gave the first one
I believe I gave that a 3,
was
right?
2 hours ago, but I don't
Yeah, it was
remember.
that
Yeah, I
was
think
a
you gave it a 3. 3,
3,
then
yeah.
a 2, and then three and a
2,
half. Okay,
three and
all
a half.
right,
So this
all
is
right.
definitely this is my new favorite out of the trilogy, and I did not know that going in. I thought when I was going to be done with this that it would still be the original Terrifier that I liked the best, but after seeing this twice, I basically almost watched it back to back. I watched it like really quickly in succession, one just to watch it, and then two to watch and take notes. It grew on me. It grew on me a lot, and a lot of the nuances and a lot of things I missed the first time, I caught the second time, and I caught the vibe of this movie, and I really caught like what they were trying to do, and it does have like that nostalgia. It does have like that atmosphere. It has like an 80s throwback feel too. You know, it has a lot to it that I like. I d- I'm liking Art the Clown a bit more. So I didn't want to give it away in the first or the second,
Right.
but he's growing on me. So at this moment, I'm not gonna say I don't like him. I'm starting to say I do like him. I do like him now. He's growing on me, and I hope part 4 puts me over the top and I say I love him. I want to get there. I do because I really like what Damien Leone's doing, and he's really changing my favorite genre. So 3.5 for me, 5 for you. Let's wrap it up. Cheers.
Cheers. And I think too, because like this is a Christmas movie, I think you're probably gonna watch it next Christmas, right? And I think you might like it a little more then too. But yeah, so that's the Terrifier films. I'm glad we actually got to talk about those. I think if I would have asked you a few months ago, like let's do a Terrifier episode, you would have told me hell no. So it's
No,
good
yeah.
to see you coming around a bit. And that's that. So do you know what are we doing next
I
episode? Do you know
so
yet?
yeah, man. So not only do we tackle Terrifier trilogy, we're gonna tackle one of our favorite film franchises
Oh shit.
next. Friday the 13th. We're finally
Hell
doing it.
yeah.
We're
Hell
finally doing
yeah.
Friday the 13th. So we're doing two big ones back to back. Terrifier to Friday the 13th. That's a lot of slashers. And I'm loving this because obviously slashers is one of my favorite genres. So yeah, this is gonna be exciting. We're trying to plan something a little different for this. I won't give anything away yet, but definitely tune in for next time because we may not be drinking bourbon. So
We will be drinking something though.
yep.
All right, cool. All right, you could follow us on Instagram at horrorheadspodcast or email us at horrorheadspodcast. I'm sorry, email us at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. Tune in for our Friday the 13th episode coming probably on Friday the 13th is when we're going to drop it.
Ooh,
All right, have a good night, everybody. Cheers.
peace.